teachers at Reddit, how easy it to tell if a student has a crush on another? And what is the funniest saddest moment between the two you can share? High school teacher. Depending on the kids' personalities. They either get louder or quieter when their crushes are present. The loud ones are freaking annoying. Oh god. I just realized that my 66-year-old gov teacher totally knows. Teenagers are not subtle by nature. But they are amazingly oblivious when it comes to matters of their heart. They are really perceptive with other things. Though. The boys almost never recognize if a girl likes them. And the girls never realize a guy is showing interest. It's funny to watch it happen. It's so blatantly obvious as an outsider. But I remember being just as oblivious as a student. It's called crushing self-doubt. I had a girl literally ask me out and I slept on it and convinced myself she was just f-king with me in an attempt to embarrass me. I always thought that it was incredible that I was always sat next to the girl I liked. It all makes sense now. One of my students' father told me his son liked a girl in his kinda class. He said, "She's pretty, dad. She looks like a dragon." The dad laughed and said, "We're gonna have to work on your compliments, son." Oh man. The longing stares across the room. The almost creepy wistful what ifs you can just see in their eyes. When I was in middle school. That was me. I'm a bartender and this sounds like every guy in the bar after 1:30 am. I'm a substitute teacher and my favorite student with a blatant crush experience was with a 2nd grade class. I picked the kids up from the yard after recess and a boy came to me very upset because one of the girls had been chasing him the entire recess. Once we got back to class I talked with the girl, asking for her side of the story. Conversation went something like this. Me. Jose was pretty upset about something that happened this recess. Do you want to tell me what happened? Girl. We were playing. Me. He said you were chasing him. Is that true? Girl. Slight blush. Yeah. Me. Do you think he wanted you to be chasing him? Girl. No. Me. If you knew he didn't want to be chased, why were you chasing him? Girl. Huge blush. Guilty smile. And hunched shoulders. He makes me laugh. I am teaching 7th grade right now. It's crazy easy to tell. It makes me wonder if I was that obvious when I was their age. Or worse. If there were girls that were that obvious towards me and I didn't notice. It's like they don't even hide it. One of my boys carries a girl's books every day. It is clear to me that he has a crush on her. I learned recently that she has a different one of these guys to carry her books between every class. I mean, that's just manipulative. She's got to know. Right? Right? I have this one teacher that will totally just say anything that's on her mind. One she just flat out said, "Do you guys like each other or what?" to these 2 kids in my class. Within 3 days they were dating and still are. That could have easily resulted in them being super embarrassed and avoiding each other forever. I teach English. I remember a star football player, senior, coming into the room to rap with me for a bit before 3rd period started every Friday. In my 3rd period a female student, junior, of mine who was extremely intelligent and very pretty, yet somewhat shy being an AP student and all, was sitting in the front row and always stared at him when he came in. He would talk about football and stuff with me and every so often I'd look back at her still staring right at him and smiling the entire time. She would not turn that smile off no matter who was looking or what anyone said. It was actually one of the cutest saddest things I ever saw. Seeing as how the guy never even turned around to notice her. If he did. Who knows? Maybe they would have hit it off. Maybe they did after they weren't my students. Former 6th grade teacher here. I was there to witness one of my kids take his first big leap. At lunch. He asked the girl he had a crush on, "Will you go on a date with me?" She smiled and said yes. Immediately the boy on the other side of her said, "Don't go out with this Efka. Go out with me." She smiled and said okay. Middle school is tough. Man. Poor Dick. He must have been devastated. I wasn't a teacher. I was a teaching helper. I mean, it was only 6th grade. But it was extremely easy. Looking at everyone facing you, you start to realize what people are focusing on. I know when kids are texting because they look straight at me and every 2 minutes look down for 2 seconds and have their hands under the table. For a crush, it is the long stares at the back of their crush's head whilst fiddling with an object like a pencil or their hair. The quick look away when the crush looks at them. It's easy. Sorry for question mark at first. I'm German and didn't know how to teaching helper correctly to say it. If anyone knows, please comment or message me. That object they're fiddling with? Not a pencil. It is painfully obvious most of the time. Here are some of the things I saw. Continuous glances at the same person. Body language that positions the person closer to the other person. Interjecting into a conversation that the person was not engaged in to begin with. Being helpful more so for a person than for anyone else in class. Flirting, obviously. Boastful storytelling, a lot of times it is outlandish and very obviously untrue. Hanging around the other person uninvited. And checking out the other person while oblivious to their surroundings. What is funny is that most people think they are being sneaky or inconspicuous. From my vantage point in the front of the classroom, these things seemed so obvious as to be genuinely painful to observe. It was especially painful when the feelings were intentionally unreciprocated. I taught college for a bit. Edit. Formatting was wonky. Edit 2. I said vintage, it should have been vantage. But the wine reference below was just too good to change my post. Vintage point, N. 1. A place in which one sips a fine Merlot. 2. The point from which one observes those much younger. College perspective. I can usually tell which of my students have hooked up. I can almost always tell when girls are crushing on guys in my classes. It's usually painfully obvious. Especially from the perspective of the front of the room. I can also tell that you're texting. No matter how much you work to camouflage it. Sometimes when I assign group work of any kind, I like to intentionally split up or subvert the secret love bads just to see how they react. I'm a bit of a sadist like that. Oh. Freshman. All pheromones. Alcohol. All overconfidence. And a complete lack of experience with the real world. Such fun. Edit. Just found this guy. College math chef. Below. Comma, I can definitely tell. And I always sit the awkward shy ones with their crushes. Some would call me a guardian angel. It's like I'm his evil doppelganger or something. I teach 16-year-olds. When a girl likes a guy, she'll draw hearts on his notes. When a guy likes a girl, he'll draw penises on her notes. A couple met in my HS chemistry classroom. This was 3 years ago. He was a junior in HS. She was a sophomore. They told me last fall that when the date is set, I'll be invited to the wedding. Best example of chemistry ever. Till. I've been painfully obvious and made an idiot of myself all through high school. In my high school there was the rumor that the teachers would talk in their break room and try to pair people up in their classes for prom. They didn't do jack for me, so FCK them. In class on Sunday, a 5-year-old boy said to a girl, "Kylie, your eyes match the flower in your hair." One of the cutest things I've ever heard. She smiled and blushed. And the guy next to me looked at me and said, "That kid has got moves." Spit. This whole thread can be answered just by watching a couple seasons of Sabrina. It's incredibly easy for me to tell. And after I know, I make it a point to sit the kids next to each other if I think they'll make a cute couple, produce adorable offspring in the future. The world needs more cute couples, kids. You're welcome. Finally. The first day of school. I can't wait to see which kids will make beautiful offspring. I've taught many different age levels. And their crushes are all pretty obvious. My favorites. Kindergarten boy throwing himself on floor with glee. I don't know what's going on with these girls. But I love it. 5th grade matter of factly saying, Listen. I have a crush on Connor. So if you could move my desk by his, I would appreciate that. And one of my students using lunch on a field trip to ask a girl on a pizza date. She accepted and he wore extra nice clothes. They sat at their own table, making conversation in their own world. All of the adult women chaperones were very impressed. I teach preschool. They tend to lack any sort of filter. So they'll just say it outright. Sometimes to me. Sometimes to their crush. Matthew is my boyfriend. Or let's get married. Julia. They will also occasionally try to kiss their crush. Today, one of my students, Gavin, kissed my hand and proposed. He's 4. It was adorable. I almost wish adult men were as upfront, although I think I'd be a bit freaked out with a proposal. I can definitely tell. And I always sit the awkward shy ones with their crushes. Some would call me a guardian angel. And others, namely the awkward shy ones, would call you Satan. I'm 21 and in college. I realize I still act like this with a girl at work. FCK. This seems like the right story to share for this question. My older brother and his crush were both involved in theater productions in high school. On the first production they were involved in, their characters shared a kissing scene. It was high school, so it was a pretty big deal that they had to kiss. Cue lots of teasing, flirting, etc. However, nothing came of it for an entire year. The next year, they were both involved in the production again, building the set. The drama teacher saw them every day flirting and becoming quite good friends, but never taking that extra step to become official. So, she set them up on a surprise date. She told them she was taking the set design crew out for dinner, met them at the restaurant, then said, "Well, no one else showed up, and I've got other places to be. Here's some cash, have a great night," and left the restaurant. So my brother and his crush finally had their first date. And now they are married. In my first year of college I took a biology class. I kept looking back at my crush. I was in the first row. She was in the 5th. My professor moved me to the seat beside my crush. It's been 5 years and I'm still with my crush. TL. Dr. Biology professor was actually an expert in chemistry. Elementary PE teacher here. During games, students will constantly tattle on their crushes. Coach. Jenny keeps cheating. I keep tagging her and she won't get out. 1 minute later. Coach. Jenny won't share. 1 minute later. Coach. Jenny won't let me play with them. 1 minute later. Koa. Matthew. Do you like Jenny? Stares at me with that just got found out look and replies no. EWW. Coach. That's gross. You're gross. She's gross. IT teacher 9th 12th grades here. The students at my school all have computers provided by the school through a one-to-one sort of program, and it is managed through our domain. I see a lot of IMs through Google Talk and other programs on Dyke now regarding that subject before I block their ability to communicate with each other during class. I also have students who tend to just tell me these things for reasons unknown. Maybe because I am a younger teacher. They feel comfortable telling me stuff. He's cool. Definitely not the type to talk about my secrets on Reddit. I used to work at a preschool. One time a little boy came up and whispered in my ear that there was a pretty girl he liked. I thought it was so sweet that he confided in me. So he asked if he should kiss her and I suggested maybe he could ask to hold her hand instead. He just nodded and walked away. Later on I was preparing a snack for them and he just came flying around the corner at like 100 miles per hour and launched himself full force at me, planting the biggest peanut butter and apple juice filled kiss on my cheek and yelled, "You're the pretty girl," and scrambled off of me and just ran off to join his friends. I teach kids how to swim and it's so adorably obvious. The girls will talk to the boys all cutesy and the guys will be like yeah and look off into the distance. The cutest is when the 3 or 4 year old boys have crushes on you and they can be pretty sly. Sometimes they'll jump off the wall knowing you have to catch them, and they'll try to kiss you, or they won't think I feel their hand on my boob when we're kicking. But I feel it. That's why we use kickboards now. It's a huge confidence boost. They won't think I feel their hand on my boob. Damn. These kids getting more action than me. My friend just started teaching 8th grade. She had to teach sex ed for the first time. They had a breakout session where everyone gets to ask questions. Without repercussion. She had a boy in the class ask, "I have a crush on someone who thinks of me as a friend. How can I make her like me more than just a friend?" She then had a girl ask, "I have a friend who I think of as just a friend. But I think he has a crush on me. But I don't think of him that way. How do I keep him as just a friend? TL. Doctor, how do I get out of the friend zone? How do I keep him in the friend zone?" I used to teach seniors. Not in college, but 55 plus folks who had their own university and wanted to learn about all kinds of new stuff from younger people. I was 24 at the time. Classes revolted around variety of topics and every week would be something else. Most of the students were in their late 60s. I always knew who was hitting on who. They were extremely courteous to each other, and the oh so subtle invitations for a tea and a crumpet. During the period that I was working there, I attended nearly the same amount of weddings as funerals. Thankfully they only saw me as a cause of the weddings. I teach 1st grade and my students are incredibly loving and emotional. I taught my students how to describe their feelings in their writing. So my students wouldn't say, "It made me sad." Instead they would say, "My heart crumbled into a million pieces." I thought I did a great job improving their writing, but now I have a very dramatic class. Which is hilarious. So my students will usually tell me that their heart is bursting with love for another student, or that their world is empty with another student in class. Really adorable to hear these little humans talk so seriously. In high school I sat behind a girl in math class, and every time she would bend over to get something from her bag, pick up a pen, etc., which was often, I would stare heartily at her thong. I'm quite positive the teacher saw me ogling. I wasn't exactly being discreet. Wait a minute. Was that girl doing that on purpose? I teach high school. And no, it's fine, don't elaborate at all. As a high school student who currently does have a crush, this thread terrifies me. You've amking 12 replying to literally everyone. I teach English in Japan. I see the same 40 kids 4 times a week. Junior high. So 15-16 years old. Some of them. You'd think they'd be raging balls of hormones. And I'm sure they are. But Japan is so repressed you'd never know their emotions. So for me, it's pretty hard to tell. Then again, it's hard for me to tell who's who anyway. I teach high school. These kids are already making out. So I tell them, that's how you get babies. And they're expensive. Apostrophe. Makes them stop. For all of 2 seconds. I teach high school teenagers are a dead giveaway. They go full mental around their crush. The worst one I saw was this girl was head over heels for this guy. He came out to her. I caught this girl passing a note to this boy. I took the note and I called them both out in class. It went something like this. How come you two are passing notes? Not now, Mr. Smith. I mean, she clearly has something to tell you. Not now. Can we talk about it later? The boy ends up turning bright red. Come to find out that the girl passing the note was having a huge fight with his girlfriend. Last thing he wanted was for everyone to know that he was talking to his girlfriend's newest enemy, who also happens to be in the same class. Middle school love at its finest. I didn't know who was dating. I took the note and confronted the 2 students. Later on, the boy told me the situation. I guess I should have been more specific about those details since many of you are so bothered. No, I didn't read the note. I gave it back to him, and no, it's not algebra. Way to be a dick. Oh. You're that teacher. I teach first grade and today my kids were sitting on the carpet and we were discussing the word appearance. I was telling them that your appearance changes as you get older and I hear one of the boys mutter to himself, "I hope Sarah's face never changes." I thought it was really cute and no one else caught it. It's so f***ing easy. This one kid last week, I moved to different schools each week, was loved by all the girls and they were all drooling over him. One girl was like MISSSS. He's bullyin' ME. And I knew she was just trying to flirt. So I separated them into different groups. She was not happy about that. Lol. I'm an ESL teacher and I had a set of second graders that were inseparable. Both in and out of my classroom. One day, we were playing a game to review words that we learned. One faces away from the board, while another student gives word cues to help him/her guess the word written behind them. I wrote the word student and the little girl was trying to guess the word. The little boy was her partner and to help her, he started saying, "Me and you. You and me." Her eyes lit up as her hand shot up. And she belted out. Proudly. "Live."